In this video, I'm going to give you 5 sleeper spec books that I'm bullish on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swagglehaus. And in this video, I'm going to give you 5 sleeper spec books that I'm bullish on. Now, it's been a little while since I've made a spec book video. And one of the reasons for that is, when I make these type of videos, I want to feel really strongly about the picks that I'm putting out to you guys. I think about spec a lot, and certainly I can make, a spec video every single week and put out a bunch of ideas to you guys. But, I want it to be more curated than that. And I want my picks to sort of matter. And, I'm hoping that, if I put them out into the world that and you guys actually spec on this stuff, that, these things come to fruition for you guys. So for that reason, I'm going to start a spec series that I'm calling Sleeper Spec Books with Swagglehaus. You got to love that alliteration, right? But this is something that, maybe is I put out every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or maybe 4 weeks. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. And the idea being that these are books that I've been thinking about personally and, actively started to keep my eye out for and hunt a little bit, because I think that these are books that are being slept on generally. And I think that, these are interesting spec choices that I personally don't see anyone really talking about, or they're stocks that have kind of dipped. And this is a good time that you should buy them because you can find good deals out there. Anyways, with that being said, before I get into my picks, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or subscribe. If you're enjoying my content, love interacting with you guys. Let me know in the comments. Do you want to see more spec videos? Because I can definitely make a lot of these things, but at the same time, I want to have picks that matter. All right, with that being said, let us get into the 5 picks today that I have for you guys. And again, these are books that I've just been thinking about as far as what's out in the landscape. What are some books that are sort of endemic to the movies and the shows that are on the slate, so to speak, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Sonyverse. So I'm trying to think of, books that can relate to those things. And, again, these are books that I feel, when I make these picks, I want these books to sort of, be able to pay off at least within the next 2 or 3 years. I'm not really interested in picking spec books that I think are coming, 5-10 years down the line, because what's the point of that? All right, with that being said, let us get into my first pick here. Let's get into the good stuff. And my first sleeper spec book that I want to talk about is going to be Avengers number 69. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first appearance of the Grand Master and the first cameo appearance of the Squadron Sinister. Now, all of you guys know that the Grand Master was in Thor Ragnarok, and he was played by Jeff Goldblum. And so we've already seen him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And, for that reason, you might be saying, well, this isn't an undervalued spec book or whatever like that. People definitely know about this. But, as I've kind of looked at the numbers with this book, generally speaking, I see this book being sold for really good deals, especially since we have a character that is actually in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And what I like about the Grand Master in general is, for those who don't know, in his first appearance here, he actually has a storyline that relates to Kang the Conqueror. You can see Kang right here. And this is something that's really interesting. It's we're thinking about touch points as they relate to what's coming out in the slate. We know that Kang is coming. So it might be interesting for them to do a Kang storyline that relates to the Grand Master, because they've had a lot of interactions. And one of the other things that's cool about this book is you're expanding your chances for success as far as it being a spec, because 1, it is the first appearance of the Grand Master, but 2, it is the first cameo appearance of the Squadron Sinister. Now, I'm not someone who necessarily believes that the Squadron Sinister is coming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or the Squadron Supreme for that matter either, but it is something as far as a comic book collector desired book. It does have significance beyond just it being the Grand Master. So that is something that's pretty cool. But just quickly here, if I show you guys some of the numbers, I mean, again, it's all up and down, but I've seen deals here's the most recent sale of it, $27. That is a really good price for a book that is this was a super clean copy too. You scroll down here's another $46. You scroll down, some other recent sales. You have ones that are 51, 53. Here's a 69. But generally speaking, I see this book being listed for good deals. I've seen it out there being, buy it nows for $20. I've seen buy it nows for, $25, $30. And this is, again, for all the reasons I talked about, I think that this book has legs when it comes to, the Grandmaster being a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's already been murmurs that, Kevin Feige wants to do the Grandmaster and the Collector, Benicio del Toro, to have scenes together or a show or something like that. So I think that we're going to get the Grandmaster a lot. And not to mention that, I just want to point out something to you guys, but I don't know what this looks like to you, but in the Loki trailer, remember he had this moment where he's got the vote Loki and he gets like a bunch of guards point knives at him and stuff like this. Well, what this looks like to me, as far as the color palette behind him, this feels like it's Sakaar. And this kind of has that junkyard aesthetic that, the Grandmaster kind of ended Thor Ragnarok in, at the end of that movie. So, I think it's totally possible that Loki has some interaction with the Grandmaster as recently, or I think it's totally possible that we see the Grandmaster, as recent as the Loki show. This is what this scene looks like to me. So I don't know. Interesting pick, generally speaking. Avengers number 69. First appearance of the Grandmaster, and you get the bonus first cameo appearance of the Squadron Sinister. All right, let's move on to my next pick here. My next pick is going to be Avengers number 54. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is a few different things. One, it is the second appearance of Dane Whiteman as the Black Knight, and we already know that Kit Harington is coming to the MCU. And we always talk about these Go Collect articles, and what have we always sort of like found time and time again is that second appearances always heat up. Like already the Avengers 52, I believe it is, or no, 48. I can't remember, the first appearance of Dane Whiteman. That book is already, it kind of exploded a little bit. So here you have his second appearance. This is a really, really attainable book that is going to have value. Not only that, this is the first cameo appearance of Ultron. Like Avengers 55 is, the kind of the go-to book when it comes to owning Ultron. But if you're one of those people who feels like, nope, a first appearance is a first appearance is a first appearance, well, then generally speaking, this is Ultron's first appearance. Granted, I think it's in Cameo, but it is Ultron's first appearance. He appears on the last page in the last panel of this book. And on top of that, you have the debut of the new Masters of Evil team. And I'm always going to have a bias towards B-tier villains. But, again, for that reason, you have three endpoints here with this book. You have second Dane Whiteman, first cameo of Ultron, and first appearance of the new Masters of Evil. And that really excites me as a book that could pay off, because all three of those things, I think, are things that we could be seeing in the MCU. It's possible, there's a lot of talk that Ultron might come back, especially with everything going on with, Wandavision. So you have that right there. We know that the Black Knight is coming to the MCU, so you have his second appearance here. And, I'm someone who, for the long term, believes that we're going to get some version of Masters of Evil, and you have the second rendition of their team in this book. So that's something that's really, really interesting to me. And, if you look into the numbers here, what's cool about this book is like, I pull this up and I see right here, look at this, buy it now. Granted, it's a 3, but here's $25, I see buy nows here for 40s. Here you can make a best offer. So very, very reasonable as far as like these prices are concerned. I mean, look at this slab copy, a 7.5 for a Silver Age book, you can get for $95. Like, I think that this is something, if you like this book and you want to spec on it, it's definitely an interesting book to consider. All right, moving on now. I already clicked ahead. Here's my other pick, number 3, sleeper spec book. And this is going to be Avengers number 46. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is a first appearance of a character known as Whirlwind. And you're probably out there thinking, Whirlwind, he's like the stupidest, B villain there is. And yes, I think that that's true. But here's why I like this book so much is, let's take a look at the landscape that we know that's coming, right? We still have characters like Incredible Hulk. We still have characters like, or we know that we're going to get characters like, the Black Knight and things like that. But who are some of like the main characters from the original series or the original saga that are still having, relevance into the coming phase? And I'm thinking a lot about Ant-Man and the Wasp. And for those who don't know, one of the Wasp's biggest arch rivals is this villain known as Whirlwind. And we all know, we don't know what's going to happen with Black Widow based on like, is she dead? Is she going to come back to, the Marvel Cinematic Universe? I don't know. But for those who don't know, in terms of comic books, basically what they did with Black Widow's character as she related to the Avengers, that was basically what the Wasp was. And at one time, the Wasp was going to be, the original Avengers team. They were trying to get that original Avengers team all the way back in the day. So, like, Evangeline Lilly's character would have been Scarlett Johansson's importance to the Avengers team. And so for that reason, I do think that moving forward, I think Evangeline Lilly and the Wasp is going to have a major role as far as being like one of the main, characters in, this coming Avengers phase and everything like that. And for that reason, Whirlwind is one of her main villains that she always fights. And so this is something that's really interesting to me because here you have a book that, you have Whirlwind. He's, a B Avengers villain. Additionally, he has been a part of the Masters of Evil team. And I think that we're going to have a lot of storylines that go through Ant-Man and the Wasp moving forward. So Whirlwind is an interesting one to me. And based on like what his powers are, he's got a lot of tech stuff. So, they could easily insert him into like an AIM storyline, or they can insert him that he works for the guy that was the buyer in Ant-Man 2. So I think that there's a lot of interesting endpoints for him. And the most exciting thing about this book is that, when you go onto eBay and you look at some of the prices, I mean, here's a bid right now that's going on for $1, but look at these books. Like you can do buy it nows for 20, buy it now for 20, buy it now for 19, buy it now for 12. I mean, granted, you got to pay shipping and things like that, but this is a book that is really easy to find for good deals. And I think that, seeing Whirlwind in the MCU, I actually think is a strong possibility. Maybe I'm crazy, but hey, these are sleeper picks. All right, let's move on now to my fourth pick here. And my fourth pick is actually going to be X-Men number 107. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first appearance of the Starjammers, who, is led by Corsair, that is Cyclops' father. And, the Guardians of the Galaxy have kind of taken a lot of inspiration, I feel like, from the Starjammers, or at least Star-Lord's character. Corsair is kind of this space pirate that, is the father of Cyclops. But one of the things I like even more than that for this book is that this is actually the first appearance of Gladiator. And for those who don't know, Gladiator is kind of like that superhero character who, he's the leader of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard. He's kind of like Superman. He's super, super strong, but he has a lot of storylines that come into play in the, space, Marvel space storylines and things like that. So what I like about this book is, granted, we all feel like we're going to get X-Men, but I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, and I actually think it's possible that Kevin Feige might be setting up the Shi'ar Empire and things like the Imperial Guard and Gladiator pretty soon, because it feels like we're building out the space universe. And even before we get X-Men, we might lay the foundation for characters like Corsair and Gladiator and Lilandra and the Shi'ar. And I can see, these alien races coming up as soon as movies like Thor, or we could see them in the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie, or we can see them in Captain Marvel 2 or Captain Marvel 3 and things like that. So this is a book that I think is really interesting. And also, again, what I like about it is it has multiple touch points, right? You have the Starjammers, and you have the Imperial Guard, and you have Gladiator. So a lot of good access points for its relevancy to pop off. And, if I look into the numbers here, again, this is still like generally, it's a little bit of a pricier book, but based on what I think it could have as far as like its impact in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think that there's definitely room to grow with this. But you can find deals. Here's one for $53, free shipping. There's bids, that are not very hot. Only 7 bids here. This one has 3 days left. But you can find these live auctions and snipe a book like this for a really good deal. All right, let's move on now to my last pick that I've been thinking about a lot for sleeper books. And this is going to be Amazing Spider-Man number 124. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first appearance of a character known as Man-Wolf, who is the son of John Jonah Jameson. And why do I like this book? Well, we all know that Morbius is coming out, and it feels like Sony is starting to build out its universe for characters that are, the tertiary Spider-Man ensemble of cast, right? So they're already doing a Morbius movie. Well, Man-Wolf is one that I think they could definitely build upon, especially if they're going to build out Morbius's own universe. And so for those who don't know, it's right now it's kind of rumored that Tyrese Gibson is going to be playing a character that hunts Morbius. He's like a detective or an FBI agent. And in the comic books, he also is a character that hunts Man-Wolf. And with everything we see going on in the, Marvel Cinematic Universe, they brought Jonah Jameson into Spider-Man #2, and we're having these worlds collides, and Michael Keaton, Vulture, is in Morbius. It feels like they're definitely like building out this world, and Sony's going to want to have characters that they can build out for Morbius, or they can make new movies about, and kind of launch these characters into sort of the A tier list. And Man-Wolf is one that I could definitely see them pulling out. And again, if these worlds are colliding and these worlds like actually have touch points next to each other, as far as like Sony and the MCU being in the same multiverse, I mean, imagine what that's going to do for a character like Man-Wolf if they ever bring him onto the scene. And if I show you the numbers here, I think this is really cool. Like, you can definitely snipe this book for good deals. Here's one that went for $24. Here's a lot that went for $45. Here's one that went for $30. Granted, these are lower grades, but again, for being like an older book, especially in a Spider-Man run, and having a notable first appearance, or I should say like a mini notable first appearance, I feel like this book has a lot of upside, and I don't see a lot of people talking about it. Anyways, that is all I have for this video. Those are 5 sleeper spec books with Swagglehaus. Let me know what you guys think. Did you like any of these picks? Do you own any of this stuff? What are some of your sleeper picks that you don't see anyone talking about, but you think might have relevance to the MCU or the Sonyverse? Let me know what you guys think about like me doing spec series like this. Do you like spec videos? Do you want me to do more? Is this something that I should do kind of like once a month and have like, here's my 5 spec books that I've really been thinking about a lot? Let me know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, do one of those things, support the channel, and I will see you in the next video.